make her delicious Zeppole, which are the perfect Italian version of a donut hole. But doesn't Zeppole sound so much nicer?
It's so much fancier, and these are
Zeppole.
perfect for breakfast. Of course, you gotta have donuts at breakfast. My favorite.
Really?
Oh, Orly,
I
Larissa,
mean,
Shirley, Cam, because you don't have just one donut hole. You have
No.
two. And those are
We've
really
got two.
oversized donut
They're
holes.
not small.
But they're light as air.
Are they?
Isn't that beautiful inside?
Okay.
I know that this
We
recipe
using
was
forks and knives,
inspired by
everybody?
all the delicious Italian desserts you used to eat at your grandpa's grocery store.
Yeah, so we talked about this before. My grandpa had a grocery store in my town in Saginaw, Michigan, called Provenzano. As you can see, he's right in the middle there.
Wow.
I love that. And there's the store. So he used to fry fresh donuts every single day at the store. I remember being a kid in the
smell
back
of
eating
that.
them so fresh. So that's one of my favorite breakfast items. So the Zeppole came to me when I was like kind of researching different types of the donuts that people have in Italy. And it's interesting because I'm Sicilian, but this is more of a Naples style donut.
I'm turning down our butter and water
Yes, thank
before we
you.
mess it up, and we haven't even started yet.
Thank you for that. And what's so interesting about this, everywhere you go in Italy, they make their Zeppole a little bit different. I'm Sicilian, and theirs is more of like a dessert type of style, whereas you guys have more of a breakfast type of style, which is
Well,
what they make
that's
in like Naples. So
Yeah.
I'm down to
do
one
this-
already. I'm down to
I
one.
love it.
Oh my God, she really has.
I don't know what happened.
I love you.
I mean, they're light as air, but they're.
We've ruined you.
I don't know.
We have
So we start with our butter and our oil over here. I mean, our butter and water.
butter
excuse
and
me.
water, yes. And so this is very similar to a pâte à choux recipe.
Yes.
So on the stovetop, but the Italians are not as fancy as the French. So what I have adding in here, this is 1/3 cup of sugar. So similar to the pâte à choux, but this is sweeter. So the pâte à choux is actually with a significantly less sugar, and the amount of sugar you add in something like this is definitely going to change it drastically. So if you add 1/3 cup versus 1/4 cup versus 1/2 cup, it's a big difference because I tested it with 1/2 cup and it was just too sweet. So the
Okay.
1/3 cup for me personally, I thought it just kind of hit the sweet
And
spot.
also, you're going to put sugar and cinnamon after,
Exactly,
so it's
exactly.
like
So
you can change it
if
up
it's
there.
too sweet, then it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want it to be a little bit have some more body instead of just sweetness. And this is just unbleached all-purpose flour. What you do is you want to bring this to a slight boil, reduce it down to about a simmer, and you pop it in, just dump it in and go. So what you do, it's going to look clumpy and kind of weird, and you know this, Deb making pot of shoes.
Yes,
it's similar to that. So
exactly.
you do this, and what it does is it kind of magically
Look at how quickly it comes
all
together.
comes together. I'm
Look
gonna
at
turn this
that.
down a little bit.
I mean, it
So-
comes together very fast.
very fast. And so what this does, you're looking for it to kind of come to a ball like it's doing, and it's pulling away from the sides of the pot. And what this does is it kind of gets rid of that sort of raw flour taste,
Right.
and it makes it smell wonderful, like sort of like the
Exactly.
cooked butter too. And
good.
so then you just have this,
And you have to let that cool.
and you let this cool. So you cook it maybe a little bit longer, but just
for sake
once
of
you're
TV.
done.
We come over
Let
here,
it-
we
yeah.
let it cool, and we put it in our stand mixer.
Yes, so we want to cool a little bit.
There we
and just
go.
get it going. Okay, so this is when we add our eggs. I tried this recipe with 3 eggs, and I did find that if you added the 4th egg, it makes it nice and light, even
Okay.
lighter. So if you like it a little bit more dense, you could do just 3 eggs, one at a time. And what this does is starts to come together, like you're
Okay.
seeing here, and just kind of keep mixing until it all comes together. And you do want this to be warm when you
All
put
right.
it together. You don't want it to cool too much because then it won't come together.
Okay.
And also for this, I like to add some fresh orange zest to the batter.
I can taste it.
all
Me too.
Sicilians, Sicilians love citrus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of citrus
I
in
have
Italy.
a lot of limoncello.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So then the orange zest really brightens it up and makes
Okay.
it nice and
There we go.
let's see. We might need to do it a
Really
little
good.
more in order to, yeah.
I love how light and airy they are inside.
There you go.
Yeah, they're very light and airy and eggy.
It's like
How do you make it that it's actually like hollow on the inside? It's the coolest
That's just
thing
what it
ever.
does when it puffs up.
Could you
Yeah.
fill it
so
with
cool.
something like with some chocolate or something in there, or would you want?
You know,
to
you could. Yeah, you definitely
But it
could.
would be a whole
Okay.
different, whole different deal. I guess.
Yes. So here we
You know,
have
this is a
here.
very similar recipe to everyone in the Mediterranean has their own sort of donut.
Right.
And the Greeks do loukoumades, which is very similar to this, but after we deep fry them like that, then you would put them in honey, Greek honey,
Oh, I
and
like
roll
that.
them in very, very finely chopped up walnuts.
Do you do the rose
And then
water?
put cinnamon on top. Woo!
Oh
No,
man.
no
Wow.
rose water?
You sometimes depends on the recipe, depends on who's doing it. Like Maria said, different
Yeah.
places.
All right.
And I've noticed when I went back to Greece this summer that they've now gotten very Americanized now, and they're now like loukoumades with whipped cream. What? Or with Nutella. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
And
Easy that
You
is.
just put those little scoops in oil?
Yes, so this is, my oil is at 375 degrees. And if
Okay.
you don't have a deep fryer like this, and generally speaking, I will say usually if it's thinner like this, it means kind of watch your eggs as you're putting them in.
Go slower.
Because maybe yeah, you would want it to be a little bit more, but a little bit more on the thick side, and you could let it set for a little bit to make it a little bit thicker.
So how long would we fry them for?
So 375 for your oil for I mean, like Deb, I'm going to quote your mom, until it's done. And
But they're always right.
Yeah.
They're always right. Till
And
it's
And
done.
what kind of oil are you using?
Oh, we're here.
There you go.
This is any oil that's like a high smoking point. So like a canola oil, a vegetable oil, and I generally use a canola oil. You can use a safflower. Don't use an olive oil.
No, do not use it.
Save your olive oil for your. So you can see they puff up.
Yeah. And they start to float. Aren't
And
beautiful?
they'll start to float. You want them to be nice and golden brown, and and they're so good. So I will say, you know, these are best right out of the fryer.
100%.
Yes, like any other donut. Like I said, being at my grandpa's store, I remember just hot and fresh right out of the fryer.
I mean, I am
and
impressed.
they absorb the sugar that you're putting on best right after they're fried as well. So what you could do is you could actually do them like this, or
Just roll.
That's what I'm talking about.
Old school.
Man, if you're gonna go in, you gotta go all the way in.
Okay, Maria.
and
let's get in
there's
there.
some fresh orange zest in here as well.
Is there? Deb,
yes.
go on, have a bite of that.
Oh,
Maria, you have outdone yourself.
right.
They're absolutely delicious. I was
so
never
good.
served any. They just sort of disappeared from my
These are
plate.
delicious.
Go to hallmarkchannel.com and you can see the full recipe right there.